there, we are starting 5.9 today with day 1. We are introducing different operations we can do with complex numbers. So today we're going to talk about the complex plane and absolute value. So you'll see that we know what is a complex plane. A complex plane is a set of coordinates, a set of coordinate axes in which the horizontal axis represents real numbers and the vertical axis represents imaginary numbers. So if we look at our coordinate plane, we can see that our new origin is at 0 plus 0i. So this is written in the form of a plus bi. So let's graph these complex numbers down here. We have negative 3, so we're going to go to the left 3 on the real axis. 1, 2, 3. And then we are going up 0i, so our dot is going to be the red one for this point here. The next thing we are going to do is the 4 plus 3i, so we go to the right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we are going to go up 3. 1, 2, 3. So this is our new point here in green. So now let's take a look at this next one, negative 3i. So if you notice, the real part is missing, so we have 0 equals that a. So like I said, we're going to start from the origin, and we don't have any on the real axis, so we're just going to go down 3. 1, 2, 3. So this black dot corresponds with this point here. And our last point we're going to graph is going to be in purple, and it's negative 2 plus 4i. So we start at the origin, and we go to the left 2, 1, 2. And then we have a plus 4i, so we go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are our new points graphed on the axis. So now that we've talked about graphing, let's talk about the absolute value. So what is the absolute value of a complex number? Well, if you remember that the absolute value is the distance a number is away from the origin. So what we're doing is we're finding the square root of a squared plus b squared. And you can see from this picture, I got it from the textbook, so it's a little bit blurry. But what we're doing is we're finding that distance that point is away from 0. So right here, this red line. That's what the square root of a squared plus b squared is. So we can use that to get us to, so we want to find the absolute value of negative 9 plus I. So we have the square root of a squared plus b squared. So we know that a is equal to negative 9 and b is equal to 1. So we have the square root of negative 9 squared plus 1 squared, which equals the square root of 81 plus 1, which is the square root of 82. And you have one more over here. The absolute value of negative 4i. So we're going to do the square root of a squared plus b squared. And we don't have an a term, so our a is equal to 0. And our b is equal to negative 4. So what we have is the square root of negative 4 squared, which is 16. So the square root of 16 is 4. So now I want to talk about evaluating powers. The big thing that we want to know is this one right here. I squared equals negative 1. So when we want to simplify, so if you look down below at our next problem, it has negative 3i, and I is to the 12th power. When we want to evaluate powers, we want to rewrite the power as a power of I and an even power of I. So that sounds a little bit confusing, but you can see from this chart I made that I rewrote it in terms of I squared. Because we know that I squared is equal to -1, so it's easier for us to calculate. So that's why we use the most often that I squared equals -1. So if we simplify -3i to the 12th power, I'm going to ignore the 3 right now and just work with I to the 12th power. We can rewrite I to the 12th power as I squared to the 6th. It's actually up here in this red box. So we know that I squared is -1. And -1 to an even power is just going to get us a +1. So what we really have is -3 times a +1, which equals -3. So that's how we would evaluate that one. The last problem we have here in this lesson today, we're looking at I to the power of 25. So I to the power of 25, we want to write one as, rewrite it as an even power of I. So how we can do that is we can pull out one single I times, then we have I to the 24th power. So I'm going to leave that one I by itself. So we have I times I squared. And so that's going to be 2 times 12 is 24. And so we know that I squared is -1. -1 to the 12th power is just going to be a +1. So now what we have is I times 1. So what we can do is we can see that I to the power of 1 is just I. So our answer here is just going to be I. So now I'll have you try your hand at the absolute value and simplifying. And don't forget to write your summary.